KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12682. Offices in Baton Rouge. Anytime. Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff.
And we welcome you into the Tuesday edition of Handy Time. Hope you enjoyed the Labor Day weekend. You mean you think enjoyed the Labor Day weekend? Went to the damn game on Sunday, Hanniger. What are you talking about? I was supposed to enjoy my Labor Day weekend. I hope you enjoyed yesterday, then. You got a little time off. Fellas, y'all get a little time off yesterday? No, you were in here working with us. Enjoy your weekend? No, you went to the game too. Sorry. Try to do better the next time. So fall into our what will be our normal routine next week, which will be the Brian. Let me do this again because it's still some confusion. Even in our building, it's like, wait, what day? Because they moved it around a little bit. All right, Brian Kelly press conference today. We'll take this show up to 11:40. We'll throw it to LSU Sports Network. They will be on from 11:40 until 12 o'clock. Brian Kelly's press conference at 12 o'clock. He'll go to 12:30. We'll come back and do the last 30 minutes of the show leading into Hunt and Hill. We will do this every Monday, except this week when we did it on Tuesday because yesterday was Labor Day. Are we square? Good. All right. Glad. Everybody's up to speed. That's going to be our normal Monday routines. Mike Scarborough with us here in about 15 minutes from TigerBait.com. He'll give us his thoughts on the game. So did you watch any of Clemson and Georgia Tech last night? You might have been footballed out for the weekend, although we've been waiting for football all summer, but you might have been footballed out. You might have just said, hey, listen, I'm not watching. And if you looked at the score, this game was a blowout. And it was. It was 31 points, certainly constitutes a blowout, but it didn't play out that way. Certainly in the first 2.5 to 3 quarters of the game before Clemson really finally started to pull away from a Georgia Tech team that is probably on the verge of firing their coach at some point during the year, who had not scored a touchdown in 3 games, I think, dating back to the end of last year. Georgia Tech lost their last 2 games last year, 100-0. Wait, you're exaggerating. No, 100-0. I mean, Notre Dame and Georgia, but still, 100-0. So it wasn't supposed to be much of a game last night, and Georgia Tech really hung around. But while I was watching, I couldn't help but think of, because a Sunday night was my first time back in the Superdome since the national championship game. I mean, between COVID and it was my first time back in the building. And so when I was watching last night, I was like, wow, okay, that game that happened in January of 2020 just as soon have happened 25 years ago from how it feels, right? So you talk about where the program's gone since then. I don't think I got to recap the LSU stuff. I think you understand where they've gone since 2020, since January 2020. We've only done 14,723 shows about it. But Clemson's an interesting case because they have a lot of the same things. They were on a much deeper run than LSU was in 19. They were in their 5th consecutive trip to the playoffs. They had won 2 national championships, and they would make it 6 last year. But is that program starting to slide was the question coming in, because in the 21 season, in the 20 season, they went 11-2. But it was a good 11-2. I mean, they lost a game at Notre Dame when Trevor Lawrence didn't play. DJ Uiagalelei had a monster game. He had 439 yards there. They lost, but he played really, really well. And then lost to Ohio State in the playoffs. No shame in that. So going into last year, Clemson looked like they were right on clock. You know, they had made the move from Lawrence to Uiagalelei. They were going to plug him in. He was the number 1 recruit in the country. It was going to go on like clockwork. They were going to just go on about being Clemson. But then they lost to Georgia, and they didn't score. They didn't score a touchdown anyway. They lost to NC State, who wasn't bad, but you're Clemson. You're supposed to beat NC State. And then they lost to Pitt. And Pitt had a good team last year. Pitt had their best team last year since Marino, but it wasn't supposed to. Clemson, you're not supposed to lose to Pitt. And Uiagalelei had a terrible year. Now, they went 10-3 despite the fact that he had a terrible year. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. So the big pregame hype last night, they had Dabo on, did the hour worth of pregame coverage. DJ Ungalele has had the best offseason that you can imagine. This guy's phenomenal. He's put the work in. He's ready to go. We got confidence in him. We're ready to roll. And then the game started. And DJ Ungalele looked exactly like he looked a year ago. Tentative, inaccurate, and with a game plan that was put together by a offensive coordinator that was bound and determined that he was not going to let his quarterback get him beat. The word you're looking for is, do I want to be nice or not? A nice word is apprehensive. A not so nice word is scared. They were just like, man, we ain't letting you throw the ball. Forget it. We're running read option. We're running quarterback draw. We can beat this Georgia Tech team with the most vanilla game plan. Mario, you could have called plays. I could have called plays. They're going to beat Georgia Tech last night. There was no doubt about that. So they just simply wouldn't turn him loose. They did a little bit in the third quarter. They let him throw a little bit. They got two block punts. Okay, like 41-10. Henniger, why are you telling me about this game? Clemson ran all over them. They didn't. Okay, they blocked two punts, and they're a better team than Georgia Tech. I say all this to tell you that when their quarterback came in late in the game, they were up 34-10. And if you want to know why people are watching games at 34-10 at roughly 10 o'clock on Labor Day night, it's because the number was right on the number at 24, and you needed one more touchdown to get to the total. The total landed right on 51, which was the number, and Clemson was a 24-point favorite at kickoff. It was on that number when somebody that probably most of the fans here haven't heard of, and I was vaguely aware of, named Cade Klubnik came into the game. And America goes, we don't know who Cade Klubnik is, but we got Clemson minus the point, so please get a fluke touchdown. Except Clemson didn't fluke it. They threw the ball. Now, understand, DJ Ungalele, first pick, number one quarterback in the country when they got him. Deshaun Watson begat Trevor Lawrence, begat DJ Ungalele. This is just how Clemson rolls now, right? This is the new Clemson. Except Ungalele is not very good, and they kept the reins on him. They put Klubnik in the game with 4 minutes to go, and you figure, they're just going to run the clock out. No. They're going to let him throw. He comes out, and all of a sudden it looks like Kurt Warner to Isaac Bruce, man. They're winging it down the field. And those people with Clemson were very happy. And those people who had a total that was over at least got bailed out at the end. And if you watch just the one drive that he had, you couldn't. And look, Georgia Tech was tired. The game was over. I get it. But the kid looked really good. It's progression of quarterbacks. And it is the easiest thing that can derail a program that is going on about their business. It's like, wait, we got it. You lose your quarterback. The quarterback doesn't work out. It can derail you. If Watson begat Lawrence, begat Ungalele, then Russell begat Flynn, begat Parallel. Oh, damn it. What did we see out of Ryan Parallel? He went in the SEC championship game, looked pretty good. They gave him a trophy and everything at the end. Ungalele went to Notre Dame, lit up the scoreboard. They lost, but he was great. But Parallel didn't come back the next year. It was it was a number of careers that were affected by Ryan Parallel. Somebody should write a book. Rabelais should write a book. We got Rabelais on the show tomorrow. Tell him he needs to write a book. How many different lives were changed by Ryan Parallel not being on the 2018? Starting with everybody on the 2018, but specifically Andrew Hatch, who was minding his own business up at Harvard, has a degree now, probably has a mansion and a yacht. Jarrett Lee, who was thrown into the fire probably before he was ready, though he did lead that wonderful comeback at Auburn that year, before he got beat up a little bit. And then Jordan Jefferson, who was also thrown in probably before they were ready to do that. And LSU was in quarterback purgatory for the better part of the next 3 years. They never quite got comfortable with it. Jefferson played a lot of big games. Lee played a lot of big games. They won a lot of big games. They never quite got comfortable. That moving back and forth. Les could never quite decide exactly what he wanted to do. So I wonder if Dabo goes back and looks at this film and goes, wow, Ungalele is not maybe what we thought he was. Look, the arm strength's still there. Big Cinco can spin it, man. That's one of the biggest reasons he was recruited as highly as he was. He's got a bazooka. You see some of those plays last night where he's falling backwards and can throw the ball 40 yards down the field. That's not the problem. Problem is, didn't look to me like a quarterback they trusted. LSU they had their quarterback operation right there when, Paraloo went off the rails and was dismissed from the team. By the way, they looked like they had it all worked out with this time. Joe Burrow begat Miles Brennan begat Walker Howard. They had it on the board, man. So the Burrow part worked out fine. I think you know what happened to him. And then somewhere on the way to Miles Brennan, COVID hit and got off the rails. So it was going to be begat Brennan again. And then the flip-flop incident. So they spent a year in quarterback purgatory last year where they were trying to get it right. For the last 2 years, trying to get it right. And Walker Howard's not ready yet. So now you have a quarterback in the middle in Jayden Daniels, who I thought played his guts out the other night. It's easy to get off the rails with the quarterbacks. I watched that game last night, and if I were a Clemson fan doing a Clemson show today, I would be telling you the Cade Klubnik watch has started because they're ready. They're ready to move on. They may not be ready to move on next week, but they're going to be ready to move on pretty shortly. We're brought to you today by Infinity of Baton Rouge and the Infinity Certified Pre-Owned Program. Up to 6 years, unlimited mileage warranties, complimentary first-year basic maintenance, a 167-point inspection, 3-month trial subscription to Sirius XM satellite radio, emergency roadside assistance, complimentary service vehicle. Nothing better than that. Your car's got to go in for service. You don't want to sit and wait. You don't want somebody to come pick you up and bring you back. No, they're going to give you a vehicle. And, of course, Acura and Infinity, locally owned and operated. Also, you're talking about transparent prices. The website says the price. That's the price you pay. Transparent, stress-free, and easy at Infinity of Baton Rouge. Mike Scarborough, when we come back, this is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys. For those
Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill. We'll hear from Brian Kelly at his weekly press luncheon, Glenn West on the Tigers, Sharif Ishaq on the Saints. Hunt and Hill, 1 to 3 weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Anytime brought to you by Big Mike's in Denham Springs. Family-owned, kid-friendly lunch menu and lunch specials Monday through Friday. Happy hour Monday through Saturday, 3 till 7, and all day on Sunday. Live music every weekend, and the restaurant's open late for high school football. Everybody loves Big Mike's out in Denham Springs. Bring in now Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com, covering the LSU Tigers, getting ready for Brian Kelly's press conference here at noon. Mike, good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Just outside the Lawton room. I'm anxious to hear what Brian Kelly has to say after watching the tape and team meetings, coaching meetings, and what the path forward is this week at practice.
All right, pretend that everybody else in the media got locked out and you were the only one in there, and you got to ask all the questions today. Give me the first one or two that you'd like to ask Brian Kelly.
Well, I'd probably like a injury report. I'm hearing Mason Taylor walking around in a boot at walk-ons last night. So after praising the August camp and how it looked like how unscathed they look compared to previous years, we get there at game time. We see Quincy Wiggins not dressed out. We find out about Joe Fouché and his situation. Mason Smith and that freak injury, which is absolutely awful. And so, what's the walking wounded, I guess. And then I guess the biggest thing is, what are they going to do on special teams? That's something that they've got to get fixed in a hurry. And that was my biggest concern going into the opener was field goal kicking and extra points. And there being no margin for error with this football schedule, a team that most people have 8-4, 7-5. So you lose that one. I think a lot of people had that one. If you were in 8-4 camp, you probably had that one penciled in as a W. So if that's your expectations, you're going to have to steal a game somewhere during the season that you didn't think you were going to get.
So let me, my number one question would be, after looking at the film, where were, in your opinion, the biggest breakdowns on third down? Because this was, if it wasn't the biggest, the special teams were the biggest story of the game, then the third down conversion rate, 11 out of 17, was 1A. So when you watch this game, Mike, we'll hear Brian Kelly's answer to this, I'm sure, in some form. But when you watch the game, what was their biggest liability on third down?
Well, I think he had a dynamic quarterback that you thought if you stopped the run, there was no way he was going to beat you with his arm, and he did. They were amazing statistically on third down and the conversion rate. You know, you go to the transfer portal to replenish your cornerback room, but, you know, there's a definite drop-off into what you're used to seeing at DBU and what was out there, and you had guys running free, maybe out of position. I don't know if the linebackers fared very well. So, you know, if you look defensively at LSU, I mean, who are your standout performers? Ojolari and maybe Major Burns? I mean, is there anybody else that you would really give an average or better than average grade?
I would say that Mekhi Wingo pressed into more service than he was expected to have, played pretty well. But your point's well made. There wasn't very much on that side of the ball to like.
And that's disappointing because, you know, of course, obviously what happened to Mason very early in the game. But, you know, as a guy who covers recruiting, you look at who these guys are, their athleticism, their measurables, their rankings out of high school, the consensus rankings, regardless of what network rankings you look at. That defensive front is considered to be the strength of the team, and it just wasn't. And their offensive line handled LSU, and their defensive line handled LSU's offensive line.
And that is concerning because going into the game, both defensive lines were thought to have an advantage over both offensive lines. They were deeper. They were more experienced. Well, Florida State's offensive line did just fine against LSU's defensive line, but the reverse certainly wasn't true. And I understand what you're saying there. Jayden Daniels, I thought, given what he was tasked with, played pretty well. I know you were impressed with his performance.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't believe some of the comments I was reading. But look, what's the state of people posting it near midnight on a Sunday night after an LSU game with the day off the next day? I get it. But Jayden Daniels, I just thought was with the offensive line he was working with, no semblance of a running game. And certainly he played a lot better in the fourth quarter than he did early on throwing the ball. I guess the only critique is you would like for him to play with the same tempo that he did in the fourth quarter the entire game. And he said that in the post game when I asked him the question, and he said that was how the coaches want him to play in the fourth quarter, and that he needs to speed himself up. So, but when he takes off and runs, and if he's going horizontal, he needs to be, trying to make something happen, not just once he pulls it down, it's over, and it's definitely a quarterback scramble and running for the sticks. If he needs to be cognizant of what line of scrimmage is and see if he can make something happen and let it fly when he's out on the run before he gets to the line of scrimmage.
So this is concerning to me that when the quarterback is saying we didn't run at the tempo and I'm not running it at the tempo, and maybe you're getting from the coaches we're not at the tempo that we want to run, it sounds to me like you got a quarterback and an OC that are not necessarily on the same page. When Brian Kelly goes to the locker room at halftime, he said the kid's scrambling too much, but that was scrambles out of straight drop backs where he was under extreme duress. I'm not sure what his better options were on a lot of those plays in the first half. So, Mike, if they want to run tempo and they want Jayden Daniels to use his legs and his mobility in a productive manner, why aren't they calling more out of the RPO game? Why aren't they calling more out of the rollout game, more out of the sprint out game, and why so many drop back passes?
Well, and also, too, how much of it was where maybe that was what was designed for him, but he didn't improvise to the point that they wanted him to. And maybe it's first game jitters, big stage, national television. Of course, he's got years of experience as a starter, but still, offensive line not holding up, and who knows? But he certainly did settle in when it came to throwing the ball in the second half. And I really, not only what he was for the offense, almost the entire offense, but I think also the way he conducted himself in post game. He really, to me, he showed some leadership. If you watched any of his post game interviews. I think there's a lot to be enthusiastic about with him. And you didn't have a Keyshawn Butte giving you anything. And I don't know what to make of that. I'm sure that's going to be one of the first questions out the gate this morning.
All right, you're a social media hawk. There were a number of players that scrubbed their social media accounts after the game. What do you make of that?
I'm sure they probably, as soon as they got in the locker room and turned on their cell phones and started seeing all the notifications, there was probably a lot of real ugliness in replies to their previous posts. And I don't know if there's, some of these guys actually have social media people that handle them for them. And I was told maybe several of those guys that did that, maybe someone did that for them, or they were told to do it. But I don't know that it's any different than some of the Facebook groups that turn off their comment section during games. I think it's very similar. Those kids come out and were certainly upset about the outcome of the game, and then the last thing they probably want to do is read all the nastiness on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. When you say they have people handling their social media accounts, do you mean from LSU or personal friends? Or
these guys all have NIL deals, and some of them might have people that are doing that, third party for them. I don't know.
Huh. That's interesting. Let's talk about Malik Neighbors here for a second, because I know that you're high on his ability. I'm high on his ability. I felt bad for the kid the other night, but I also thought they were in a bad spot because when he's taken all of the reps at punt return, it would have been difficult to put somebody else back there that late in the game. I was encouraged by the fact that he came back on the last drive and caught a couple of balls. What's next for Malik Neighbors? Do you expect him to continue as a punt returner?
Yeah, I don't know. When that happens twice, I just think, man, that's if you're a coach, you're worried that that's forever now going to be a deal where he's back there like the young kid in an outfield of a baseball game, hoping the ball don't get hit to him. I don't know what the options are, who they started with in the spring, what the number of athletes they tried back there, who was the most sure-handed. Was it Neighbors that was the most sure-handed, but then he wasn't? I'm assuming that's the case. You wouldn't put anybody back there that had drops in scrimmages or in any of the practices.
Let me give you your options, okay? From what we saw, if you decide to move on from Neighbors, and I don't know if they are or not, because he does have tremendous make you miss ability. They worked Seven Banks there, who didn't dress the other night, so still battling something. Sage Ryan, who played a little bit, and if you wanted to ramp Sage Ryan up this week and give him a bunch of reps, maybe keep him after whatever to field some more punts, that's an option. Javen Nicholas is the walk-on from St. Aug, who certainly turned a few of their heads early in the camp. Or those were the four guys that we saw work at punt returner, along with Neighbors in those three. If you wanted to incorporate somebody else, I can tell you what my fallback is. I send Jack Besh back. Yeah, I send. If you decide that it's too dangerous to have guys returning punts, and I just want to catch the ball and that's it, you just want to fair catch it, then I'm sending Jack Besh back there. You watched him play in high school. He was a full-time punt returner, and you said you never saw him drop a ball.
No, I didn't. And so, you got Southern this week. Maybe that's an opportunity. Try both kids from the 337 Lafayette area and give Sage Ryan an opportunity, give Jack Besh, and just say we want a guy who's going to field it cleanly, and we're going to cart the offense out there and get started.
All right. The psyche of this team. The last 2 years, and maybe I shouldn't even bring up the last 2 years because it's a completely new team and a completely new coaching staff, but the Mississippi State game, they were able to actually bounce back from. Of course, they got an easy game against Vanderbilt, but then it kind of lingered into the Missouri game and later into the season, never got some of those problems fixed. And then last year, the UCLA game was just a punch in the gut. They were going to turn things around, and it kind of lingered there. So now, new regime, new team. How do you feel like how do they put this loss behind them? Because with the opponents they got coming up with, this could very easily linger on them.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know that Southern gets you well, but look, there's some very good coaches on this football staff. They're going to know what to do. They're going to get them in the right mindset. Us work versus the world, that whole thing. You just got to get to work and take it one day at a time. And hopefully the injury situation isn't as bad as we think it is, but you got several weeks to get guys like Mason Taylor, whatever that situation is, back. But winning cures everything. But you just can't. You're going to have to get some of these games back. You've got to beat Mississippi State in a couple of weeks, and just go week by week. That's the only thing you can do. And Brian Kelly, he's kind of get a little Norman Dale from Hoosiers in him, because he said it multiple times, even in August, and again Sunday night, is this is your team. There's no Jimmy Chitwood in the stands that's going to come out and be the difference maker. This is the team. And so, but certainly they're going to have to play with some scenarios with the offensive line. One of my other questions would be, if I had multiple shots at it, would be, a guy like Emory Jones. If you're having issues on that right side of the line, how far away is Emory Jones? And I can't help but wonder, in his case, had he been a midterm graduate, might he be in a different spot right now, and been one of the first guys onto the field Sunday night?
I do believe he went in on that field goal protection, but it wasn't on his side, or it wasn't his guy that came across for the block late. Mike, you get out and watch a lot of high school football now that season's underway. Where are you headed? Who are you excited to see?
I tell you what, there's a lot of 24, 25, and 26 guys I want to see. Obviously, we've seen U High. We went and saw East Feliciana and West Feliciana Friday night. Trades Green is an absolute beast. The 6'6", 6'7" wide receiver for East Feliciana. We got video and an interview posted later today on him. But having seen U High, boy, they're something else. They're absolutely loaded. And Keelan Mose is going to be, he could very well be better than his brother. And so you're talking about a linebacker for the class of 25 that can play running back, and he does it all for them. So those are some of the guys we've seen early. But I've got the whole September and October charted out, and about to start logging a bunch of miles.
Mike, we're looking forward to chatting with you throughout the season. TigerBait.com. Check it out. Lots of LSU coverage, lots of recruiting coverage. Mike, we appreciate your time.
All right, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
Thanks a lot. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of the questions that we expect Brian Kelly will be answering here in about a half an hour. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets the media to preview the Southern game, and we'll chat with Sean Salisbury and Peter Burns. Join us Tuesday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, we're a couple of minutes away from sending you to the press conference pregame and then the press conference at noon with Brian Kelly. All right, so I asked Mike Scarborough, I said, if you had the auditorium all to yourself, what would you ask? I'm going to give the auditorium all to myself here for a second. I got 4, all right? I'm not going to ask it in press conference form. I'm just going to kind of throw out the topics there because I'm sure they'll ask it in a different way. The first one is about the third down conversions and what, after looking at the film, they specified as the biggest breakdowns of what adjustments they might be able to make. You're not going to get an answer that you like to that any form of that question, because Brian Kelly can only do one of two things when he gets that question. He can be cryptic about it, which is say, we have to improve, we have to play our techniques better, et cetera, and it's going to be basically a non-answer answer, which is probably what he'll do. If he answers it truthfully, he's going to have to call out players and coaches. He's going to have to say, we called this defense and we never should have called it, and this player was supposed to do this and he didn't do it, and then you get the crowd that goes, he's throwing him under the bus. He's being mean. So he can't really answer this thing the way that you're going to like it. The second thing I would ask is about tempo on offense. And this is something that worked well for them in the fourth quarter, into the late part of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter. There's some obvious advantages. The quarterback looked a lot more comfortable. The offense was much more efficient. On the other hand, it does compromise your defense. So some question about balancing the tempo on offense. The third question I would ask him is, where was Kayshon Boutte? And you could ask it about, well, what about this guy? What about this? Besh didn't catch many balls the other night either. But where was Kayshon Boutte? This guy's supposed to be a best player on your team. He took one shot early, didn't come down with the ball. It was a tough play. And after that, he basically disappeared for half the game. And his body language suggested that he was none too happy about it. So I said yesterday, at some point, you get in the offensive coordinator's ear and you say, get 7 the ball. I don't care how you do it. So I would ask about Kayshon Boutte. And then I would ask about adjustments on special teams if they're planning on having any. And again, this is the same way as you asked the third down question, which is, are you going to make any adjustments? So he can either say, yeah, we're going to replace this guy, and he's throwing him under the – so you're not going to get a great satisfying answer to that, which is yes, we're going to do everything 100% better this week. So we'll see about the questions, and we'll give you a recap when we come back. Sending it over to LSU, Gordy Rush and Chris Blair. We'll be back on the other side of the Brian Kelly press conference. Anytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Welcome in to the Brian Kelly press conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today. Coming up, head coach Brian Kelly discusses the week ahead for LSU Fighting Tiger football. But first, from inside the Capital One LSU Sports Radio Network studios, here are former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Welcome in, everybody, and good Tuesday as we get ready for the Brian Kelly press conference presented by ASAP. Chris Blair, Gordy Rush here inside the Capital One studios. Coming up at 12 noon, of course, Coach Kelly will join us from the Lawton Room. He'll have opening comments and, of course, as always, questions from the media. The Tigers coming off a disappointing, heartbreaking loss Sunday night in New Orleans, 24-23. Florida State holds on to get the victory, and the Tigers now regroup, get ready, another short week, getting ready for the home opener against the Southern Jaguars coming up 6:30 Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. And Gordy Rush, I know you've had a chance, as many fans have, to kind of take in what we all witnessed on Sunday night, first game of the season. Try to get ready, regroup. I'm sure that's what Coach Kelly's going to talk about today. He talked about it really immediately following the game on Sunday night. But we'll start with your biggest takeaways from the tough loss in New Orleans.
You know, Chris, I had a chance to see two scrimmages, and I was really surprised with the product that I saw on the football field, because in those scrimmages, and it was good on good, LSU executed at a high level. You saw very few mistakes. And to see, you know, in that game for LSU to struggle on offensive line, struggle to run and pass, especially in the first half, defensively could not get off the field on third down, and obviously it was a bad night for special teams. We're really surprised to see that performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Kelly, again, immediately following the game, said, hey, look, we knew we had a small margin for error, and, you know, in any game against any opponent, anywhere, when you have those types of special teams breakdowns, obviously it does most of the time doesn't go well for that particular team. You know, tough news, obviously, early in the game. Mason Smith, who, again, I had talked about how he wanted to take major steps forward here in year number 2 after what I thought was a sensational freshman campaign. I'm sure Coach Kelly will be asked about that coming up in just a little bit. But you got a little thinner on the defensive front. And as you pointed out, you know, again, at times for the majority of the first half and really until a couple of big stops late in the game, they struggled really to slow down a pretty good attack by Florida State. You know, it was a point of emphasis for Florida State coming into the game. They ran for over 400 yards in that opener against Duquesne. So retooled offensive line. 3 of the 5 guys had come via the transfer portal. And they were running into what was supposed to be a strength for LSU. We talked about on the broadcast, number 93, Wiggins came out with a boot on. We hadn't heard that news. He was on a cart and a boot, so that's a significant injury. So he was not available to be a backup. And then you lose Mason Smith with 7:34 remaining in the first quarter. And all of a sudden you get very thin very quick. And I believe LSU only played 3 people in the defensive tackle game. Wingo had to step up and play a lot of snaps. And then Guillory came in the second half to give them a little bit of a chance to get on the sideline. But again, you're returning Gay, you return Ojulari, you return all this talent on the defensive line. You're down 2 people. Now it becomes a little bit of a concern for you. Who's going to be able to step up starting this week against Southern? Again, we mentioned the miscues on special teams, but the opening drive of the game, Again, we saw Jayden Daniels take over, QB1 in the opening game of the season. Had a big run play with his legs in that opening drive, a couple of penalties. Suddenly you find yourself down there inside the red zone. Then you have the errant snap. And, again, that you get points, right, but you leave 4 on the table, possibly with all the momentum and Florida State kind of on their heels. And obviously we could sit here and talk about how that changes the entire rest of the ball game in the opening drive of the contest. But, offensively for LSU, it looked like, and again, I think Coach Kelly mentioned this, that it was kind of a tale of, I don't know if you would say 2 halves, but certainly the end of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter. Again, LSU started to be able to move the ball. They got into tempo. They got into rhythm. And even late in that game on that 99-yard drive, which got the Tigers within 1 point, again, even with Florida State playing in a prevent style, leaving a lot of room across the middle of the field, which LSU, to their credit, took advantage of in that drive, you were able to get something going and really utilize what we expected to be the skill level. You got the receivers involved late in the game. We know how talented that group is as well. So, again, you look at the game, take it in its totality, and you say to yourself, as Coach Kelly did, you can't turn it on that late in the game in these type situations and then add those miscues on top of it.
Yeah, you expect a little of that in the first game. You're trying to find yourself offensively and who you're going to be. I don't think anybody expected the offensive line was going to struggle in pass protection as much as they did, and that LSU was going to struggle at times being able to run the football. So Mike Denbrock went tempo, as you talked about, spread the football field with the 3 outstanding wide receivers, and went to a short passing game. They were able to get the ball out quickly to those wide receivers in space. They were able to make plays, and with that, Florida State had to back up. A lot of times they played cover 2, man-to-man underneath, too deep. That means they're backing people out of the tackle box. And I believe we talked about it 4 times on that first touchdown drive of the fourth quarter. Noah Cain, I believe, had 4 runs, or LSU had 4 runs, and they were able to run the ball as Florida State backed up a little bit. So is that now the identity for this LSU offense? Do we see more tempo, more short passing attack out of Jayden Daniels, who was really efficient throwing the ball? I thought when he didn't have LSU's in the shotgun, when he didn't have more, had to stay in the pocket and some 5-step would be the equivalent of a 5-step drop, he was really efficient throwing the ball quickly.
Again, we could sit here and talk about each and every play. We don't have the time to do so. Coach Kelly's going to join us, and I'm sure he'll give an overview before taking questions from the media. Early in that game, once we got to halftime, time of possession, which sometimes means something, sometimes it does not in a given game. But when you looked at time possession and the amount of total offense for Florida State, LSU was behind in a big way. When it was all said and done, again, starting late in the third quarter and throughout that fourth quarter, where I think LSU really dominated, frankly, in that fourth quarter of action, things evened out a little bit more.
Yeah, LSU got a couple stops, and they were able to get off the field on third down, which was a problem. It was Florida State was 6 of 8, and then 7 of 11, and I want to say finished maybe 7 of 17, if I'm not mistaken, on third downs, which is still a good percentage. But that was a story for the first 3 quarters for Florida State. Defense was able to get off the field, and as we talked about, the LSU offense found some rhythm in the fourth quarter, and they were able to make this obviously a close game.
One of the things you look at when you look at the total tackles in the game, you look at where that's coming from. And on Sunday night, it was coming from the secondary for LSU. And a couple of guys, again, that I thought played extremely well, which was in a position group that maybe there were questions 6 months ago, 3 months ago. And that was Jay Ward and Major Burns. Both guys finished with 8 tackles. Jay led the team with 6 solos, 4 solos for Major Burns. Those guys, I thought, at least that's a positive you look at.
Well, in this system, this Matt House defense, they're interchangeable. So, in other words, there's not a true free safety, not a true strong safety. They can play both. So that means at times when you're the strong safety, you have to get up there and contain. You're closer to the line of scrimmage. So I'm not surprised that they're going to have similar stats. It's just usually not a good sign that your safeties are leading the way tackling-wise. Greg Penn, the linebacker, was third there, and I know that the Tigers rotated a lot of linebackers. They played Jones. They played Weeks. Baskerville didn't record a tackle. He got in the football game for a little bit, but usually you'd like to see that front 7 making more of the stops for you.
Again, Coach Kelly after the game talking about, I think listening to him, Gordy, it was pretty clear, hey, we weren't happy with the results tonight. We weren't happy with the way we played the game, but we can identify very easily where the improvement has to be made, which is, you can't fix anything if you can't identify it. I think they clearly identified it, and I'm sure that's going to be several points of emphasis this week because we'll talk about the matchup in the next segment. But it seems to me, and it's almost true every year between week 1 and week 2, it's typically more about what you're doing and how you're getting better. I'm sure they're going to talk about the Jaguars. But I think they've got enough they're going to work on this week.
No question. And, on the defensive side, for me, it's the run fits. I thought there was too many times that Florida State was able to get to the edge. You didn't have somebody setting contain, and you saw a little bit of mix-ups. Times two people would go inside and one person wouldn't go outside, and getting those things right. And you got to be able to clean that up because in 2 weeks, the Southern obviously coming off an 86-0 win. LSU's a heavy favorite in this game. But Mike Leach is coming to town, and he's going to test every part of your defense if you're not fundamentally sound. So you got to clean things up this week.
Again, a tough loss, 24-23. LSU 0-1 on the season. They will open their home schedule coming up this Saturday, 6:30 kickoff, probably somewhere around 6:39, 6:40. Boot will meet ball. It'll be the first meeting ever between LSU and Southern on the gridiron. Tiger fans, make sure to download the ASAP app and get all of your game day needs delivered right to your door. ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. We'll take a quick break. We'll talk more about what the Tigers, what we expect them to work on this week, what Coach Kelly may be discussing coming up at 12 noon, and also a look at the matchup between LSU and Southern. So stay with us. More to come right after this.
Albertsons is making shopping and saving easier than ever. Check out Albertsons For You in our mobile app where you can shop for groceries and save weekly with digital coupons all in one place. With Albertsons For You, you can earn rewards points every time you shop and redeem them for free groceries. Brand new Albertsons For You members receive $5 off their next $25 purchase just for signing up. Download the Albertsons app or go to albertsons.com to sign up. Albertsons, fresh food, local flavors.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney.
Hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking for your new fast play games, but really, how fast are they?
How fast do you say? Faster than a... Even faster than...
Whoa! Hey, that's fast. Hey, can I have a new fast play game, please?
Sure, but let me tell you a quick something about them.
Introducing new Fast Play games from the lottery. Get in between for $1. Rev up with $2 Super 7s. Bet on Black Cherry Bingo. Get the winning score with $5 Saints. And finally, it's a party with $10 Cash Extravaganza. Win up to $50,000.
I'll take them all!
Great, see you soon. These new tickets are gonna go fast. Next.
Hi, we were just wondering, how fast are the Fast Play games?
Faster than a...
Pick up the new Fast Play games from the lottery. Fast Play, fun in a flash. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
To tradition, the preparation for competition. The smallest things can have the biggest impact on this field and a whole host of other fields. To shine among the brightest stars, you have to sweat the small stuff. Because here, it just means more.
Coach Kelly is just moments away from previewing the week for the Fighting Tigers. This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Once again, here are Gordy and Chris.
6:30 Saturday night, Tiger Stadium, LSU and Southern getting together, first time ever. History will be made. Coming up, we'll head to the Lawton Room, and we'll do that now. Brian Kelly.
It's my first home game, too, so I'm super excited about that as well. And certainly we want to, bounce back from a very heartbreaking and disappointing loss. But, again, I'll get into that a little bit. But, the game itself against Southern, first LSU game versus a SWAC school and HBCU opponent. The significance of that is great. Playing an HBCU school, I think, is a great thing for this university and certainly for Baton Rouge, historic in nature. To have two schools from the same city uniting and celebrating this community, the accomplishments, the programs. Certainly, the Human Jukebox is on display at halftime. I mean, one of the most iconic bands in all of college football. We get a chance to, obviously see them and excited about that. But again, I think it's just exciting to bring in Southern and Coach Dooley, obviously in his first year. They played last week against an overmatched opponent in Florida Memorial, and they did what they should have. They dominated their opponent and certainly looked good in doing it. McCray, the quarterback, is very elusive. They've got some talented wide receivers defensively. They took the ball away. And again, dominated their opponent in the way they should in that kind of ball game. So really excited about playing this game, this home game. Our guys are excited, obviously, to get an opportunity to bounce back after a disappointing loss. And it's a short week. Yeah, yesterday was a busy day for us. Coming off a difficult loss, you can imagine there's a lot of emotion, but we had to get right back to work. We were in film study, as well as scouting report, weight training, medical, all of those things had to be accomplished, all at once. So we got all that accomplished, and now we're excited about the weekend. So with that, we'll open it up to this late arriving media crowd that must have enjoyed the weekend. That's usually $10 that we put in the kitty. We'll have a big bash at the end of the year at my place. I don't think it has anything to do with winning. I think it has to do with being on time. All right, here we go.
Brian, right here in the middle. After looking at the tape, what's the easiest, quickest thing that you can correct when given a number of issues, whether it be protection, whether it be defensive alignment, assignment, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I think most of them are easily gleaned just by watching the game. We didn't get off the field on third down, so a lot of that is just eye discipline, tackling, things that I talked about after the game. Better communication from a large degree. I think from an offensive standpoint, earlier recognition in what we had and defining that. So, look, this isn't coach speak. We have to do a better job coaching our players, and they have to do a better job of execution. So what is execution? Execution is really playing with great confidence and trusting your teaching. And sometimes in the moment, you lose that trust and you go back to some things that you had done before, and that sometimes is not the best way to do it. So to get better execution, we've got to coach our guys better, and then they have to trust that and play with a great deal of confidence. If we do that, we're going to clean up a lot of those things, and we will.
Hey, Coach, did you and your staff take a look at last year's defensive numbers in terms of the interceptions and the fumble recoveries and say, hey, we got to improve this? And you got the turnover the other night, the huge turnover, but do you think the interceptions, the sack fumbles, those kind of things are coming for this defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's week one. Certainly we want to be able to take the football away. We want to be able to tackle better. There's so many things that I could stand here in front of you that in week one we want to do better. I mean, I could touch upon every single aspect of the game, but I think we have to be careful not to say that this defines anything about this football team other than what they displayed, and they displayed grit and they displayed character. They love playing for LSU. And they're going to battle their tails off. Was it pretty football all the time? No, it was not. But they're accountable. Our coaches are accountable. I'm accountable for that. and we'll go to work this week in making sure that we coach them better and that they work on execution. But they're gritty. They're going to play hard for LSU because they love LSU.
Brian, can you confirm Mason's injury and then how that affects your rotation on the D-line?
Yes, I can confirm. Our doctors confirmed an ACL tear yesterday after an MRI, which, obviously we're crushed for him because he was celebrating for a teammate on the play and trying to show his support for a teammate. And so anytime you suffer an injury under those circumstances, it's extremely disappointing. He's a great player. You're going to miss great players, but, it's next man in now for us from that standpoint. So you got to count on, other guys to step up, and they did in the game. I think our defensive line rallied, played as hard as they could. You certainly wouldn't, after film study, single that out as a reason for not having success. So we'll call on some other players to step up in that role, and we'll have to be, in some instances, creative and, putting guys in position where we can succeed defensively.
Brian, Wilson Alexander over here. You mentioned earlier recognition on offense. Is that kind of maybe using that tempo earlier in the game that ended up having that success later, or is there something else offensively that you recognized as y'all were going over the game that you need to maybe change or do differently?
Yeah, they were in a lot of pressure fronts. They went to a lot of bear. They covered us up front, so they had individual singular matchups on each one of our 5 guys up front, which put them in a lot of man coverage. We needed to be in some different protections. It took us a while to recognize some of those things. So we got to do a better job coaching that because, Jayden's very sharp. He understands the offense. So that's something that we'll have to do a better job coaching and making sure that he recognizes that, is able to get us in the right protection, get the ball out quicker, which he did when he saw that later in the game, which prompted them on the long drive to drop 8 and be in a 3-man rush. And when he had time in a 3-man rush and nothing was open, it creates opportunities for him to run. So he can be very difficult to defend once he does a really good job, and we continue to coach him along in those recognitions of those particular fronts.
Yeah, Brian, right in the front. Have you, had to talk to Kayshawn the past day or two about getting, he seemed a little depressed or the body language wasn't great. Have you had to, kind of pick him up?
Yeah, I think there were a number of those guys that were disappointed in their play, and they're so hard on themselves. They want to succeed at such a high level. So yeah, I had a conversation with Kayshawn, and his standard is so high, and obviously it was a difficult day for him. It wasn't his best, but he's going to have great games, and it's going to be in the totality of his work that he's going to be evaluated. He hadn't played in a while. He'd been out with an injury. Maybe there was a little rust there. He's the least guy that I'm concerned about on our offense, but he's not. He carries that with him every single day. So yes, he's learning how to deal with that, and he's a young man who hasn't been in this situation before. And he needs some guidance. And so we spent some time, and, we worked some things out that will help him handle the scrutiny. And quite frankly, the scrutiny was strong. And, his reaction was probably similar to what my reaction would be as a 60-year-old. He has handled it in a manner that he'll learn from and continue to grow from.
Hey, Coach. Henry Huber with the LSU Rev. With Mason Smith injured for the remaining of the season, Mekhi Wingo is expected to take on a large role at filling his shoes. While those are large shoes to fill, how effectively do you believe he'll do that? And what's his attitude been like since the game?
Oh, Makai has been amazing. He's been a great leader. He won this week's SWAT team points again. He's a terrific leader. He played very well in the game. He's active. Yeah, I mean, Mason Smith is, it's hard to compare anybody to Mason Smith, his size, his athleticism. But Makai Wingo is going to be Makai Wingo. And what he does is extremely effective as a football player, and he gets now, obviously, a bigger share of that work. And it'll be incumbent upon some others to step up as well.
Brody Miller with The Athletic. I know you talked Saturday about how, Florida State's edge rushers deserve a lot of credit, but when you look back at it, where maybe it was personnel issues, was it more protection stuff? I guess what stood out that maybe you guys can fix?
Well, it's kind of what I talked about. They had singular matchups, and so, their edge guys were really good. One of them went against a true freshman. Will held his own. I mean, he won some and lost one. That puts, obviously, Cam Wire on a one-on-one situation. There were some tough days there for him, but he battled. But, you got to look at your personnel going against who we played against. And, are there better ways that we could have helped our offensive line? Should we have sprinted more? Should we have, gapped it more? We started to chip late in the game and give some help on one side or the other. So, those are things that you look at after you see your personnel against a team like Florida State and start to make some deeper evaluations as to how you're going to move forward when you start to play, SEC competition.
Coach, I know the NCAA has cracked down on the number of full padded contact practices over spring and fall practices since 2014. Do you think that plays a role in some of maybe the messy tackling we've seen this weekend, or mistakes like the targeting call, like Ali Gay, maybe the lack of practice?
I'm not giving Ali Gay a pass on that targeting. That's, if you look that up in the dictionary, that's what targeting is. That was a young man who's regretful of the decision and how that went about. He'll sit the first half. He's got to be better. He knows that. But no, I don't think targeting has anything. Tackling is an art, right? I mean, it's something that you have to develop that skill. We tackled as much as we could. Let's give Florida State's quarterback a lot of the credit, too. He's extremely elusive. We had 16 missed tackles on him, and that's too many. We had him wrapped up for tackles for loss on a number of occasions, which would have got us off the field. But we've got to be better. There's no question.
Hey, Coach Kelly, right in the middle. Covering Coach Sean Payton for years, one of his go-to phrases was every week's crisis or carnival in his organization. After a loss, only the first of the season, how do you handle the kids to get them to focus on what's in front of them and not pay attention to everything that's outside of the program, listening to what people are saying about the loss?
Yeah, look, it's a high-profile program. They come to LSU with understanding that, with success, comes a responsibility, and they have to be able to balance that. So I'm not up here to make excuses for our guys. But there is a line too, right? You don't want it to get so crazy that we're, attacking, people. We can be critical, and we're critical. We should be critical of our coaching, and we should be critical of our play. Critical analysis is going to get us better. But I think the theme, what was most important within our room and our team meeting was there are things that we did well, and I kind of mentioned them already. We showed resolve. But what we have to do better is consistent execution. And what we learned is that we got to play 4 quarters of football, and that means we got to start fast. We did not start fast. The second quarter and third quarter was hit and miss, and we finished strong. So we've got to play 4 quarters of LSU football, and we've got to execute better. And that was really the emphasis in that meeting, and to stay focused on what's important now.
Coach, down here.
Were you alarmed by the problems on special teams, and what changes do you have to make, you think, if any, to remedy what you saw?
Well, we made in-game changes on PAT field goal, and we thought we had them remedied. Didn't prove to be that way. And the punt, we had the first muff punt, and it was my decision to stick with Malik. We always are benefited by hindsight, right? But I felt like he's an elite athlete. He's confident. And I wanted to show that confidence in him. And that's my call in that situation. So, one of them is on him. The other was Coach Kelly sticking with him, I guess you could say. As it relates to the field goal extra point situation, we made a change. We flipped personnel over from that left side and moved somebody over there that we felt would shore that side up. We kicked the extra point with success and had the look we wanted. And then on the final PAT, we didn't execute the way we needed to.
Hey, Coach Dylan Sanders, Go247. How do you feel about Jayden's debut as the starting quarterback for LSU?
Yeah, I think I've talked a little bit about it. I think early recognition needs to be better, but I thought he competed well. I thought later in the game he definitely settled into some, really good rhythm. I think when we did go some tempo, that really, benefited him. I thought late his pocket presence was excellent. He knew when to run. He knew when to stay in the pocket and find, the open receiver. So, I think first game, kind of a mixed bag early on, settled into it nicely as the game went on. That's not good enough against good teams. You got to be ready to go right out. And I think this will be, probably a really good game, this past game, for him to really learn from and up his game.
Hey, Coach, sticking with the quarterbacks, at any point in the game, did you consider going to Garrett, and might you expect to play both this weekend?
Yeah, it was never a conversation. There was never a time during the game where Mike Denbrock, that is, or Joe Sloan had a conversation about, hey, let's make a change here. Let's see if that's the best option for us. That was never a conversation. And right now, it's Jayden's our number one quarterback.
Coach, Peter Broderick with the Reveille. Obviously, during the offseason, the secondary is one of the biggest, points being talked about. What was your thoughts on how they played on Sunday?
Yeah, I thought the corners played solid. We would like a little bit more physicality in the tackling, but by and large, we felt like they held up pretty good. We had a lot of man coverage call situations. I thought they were on body. Did a pretty good job. We lost our eyes, obviously, on the reverse touchdown pass. That's unacceptable. We've got to be more disciplined in that situation. But by and large, pretty good. We've got to communicate better at the safety position. Our guys know that. We've got to coach it better, too. I mean, we've got to be there consistently talking about how we can have a better, consistent operation with our safeties and knowing, what they're doing and how to do it.
Coach here on the left, what are some keys to getting the run game going moving forward beyond Jayden's legs?
Run game is such a difficult topic to kind of say, when is it, when is the run game effective? To me, the run game is effective as it relates to success ratio in short yardage, success ratio in terms of yards per carry. You want to be over 4 yards per carry, obviously, so you're keeping the chains in your favor. You want to be able to get those short yardage conversions. So anything 3rd and 1 to 3, we were pretty good. We were in goal line, we punched it in. Obviously the run game has to continue to grow. But in a first game situation, you're talking about the timing and the reads of running backs with the offensive linemen and tight end blocking and receivers. There's so many pieces, so it's hard to really give you, where are you with the running game? We've got to get all those pieces working together, and then I'll be able to give you a better assessment of where we are and where we're going.
Right up the middle. I got two if I can. Running backs and tight ends look like they struggled in protection. How much better can you be there, or is it just a course of playing games? And then secondly, how do you like to approach recruiting on game day? Do you stack up as many visits as you can with your home games, or do you really focus on the games?
Yeah. So the first question is running back and tight ends. I think that's an area of need to improve in. Mason Taylor's playing a lot for us. He's a young player. His matchups were not favorable in most instances. He battled the best he could. We know where our limitations are. We're going to have to be better there, and we're going to have to be better at the running back position. And we got to be creative. It is what it is. As it relates to recruiting, we want to be very careful in this first year that we are not missing in action at practice as we are developing this football team. I do like to get out, but in year one, we want to make sure that there's continuity and that our players are going to need us as we recruit. So we're going to be very deliberate and balanced in terms of how we do that.
Hey, Coach, speaking of Southern, when you were growing up or watching football, do you have any memories of HBCUs and all the talent they would send to the NFL, and do you feel like they're kind of maybe getting back to that a little bit in recent years?
Yeah, for me, it's Eddie Robinson, and Grambling, and those games being played on NBC and remembering them. One of the biggest honors that I had was, getting an opportunity to speak at the Eddie Robinson Museum when it was opened up. It was a great honor, and just being immersed in the history of HBCU. So for me, it's as a head football coach and somebody that's been in the business as long as I have, I'm really excited about this game because it brings in the historical perspective and how important it is.
Brian, over here. Okay. When it comes to the safety situation, Joe Fouché, what can you say about his situation and the suspension that he's?
Yeah, he'll be back this year. I know it. He'll be back.
Hey, Coach, in regards to the game on Saturday, it's the first time two Baton Rouge universities have faced up against each other in history. How important do you think this game is for the players, and how important do you think this game is for the city of Baton Rouge itself?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's exciting for the city to have two teams playing together, celebrates the accomplishments of both universities. The city itself, a flagship university like LSU, and certainly a great institution and a traditional HBCU university like Southern, bringing them both together, I think, is a incredible thing for the city. This doesn't happen. I mean, how many teams get together from the same city? Maybe UCLA and USC. I can't think of many more that are in the same city that play each other. So it's a big deal. It's pretty cool. I'm excited, and I know our players are too.
Hey, Coach. Hey, Coach. How would you sort of evaluate the performance of your linebacker? It seems like you guys were kind of vulnerable in the middle of the field during the game.
Yeah. Look, I mean, when you don't get off the field on third down, it's not just the safeties, it's not just the corners, it's not just your pass rush. Everybody's responsible for that. We've got to play better at that position. In particular, we've got to tackle better. We've got to blitz better, and we've got to be on body and coverage better. So is there room for major improvement there? Yes, there is. There's room for improvement in my coaching and our playing, and we've got to get better there as well.
Coach, a couple of times you gave up a sack when you were 5 blocking 3 and 6 blocking 4. Is there anything you can do there, you think, as far as communication, maybe to help your especially your tackles, anything you can do there?
Yeah, so a lot of that's O-line awareness and making sure that we're helping where help is needed. And when you get 5 guys that are battling and trying to do it the best they can. They have to know where their help's coming from. And that's consistency. That's where you get a group of guys that are playing together for a while, that they know where to help. And we call that O-line awareness. And, certainly we lack a little bit of that right now. But we'll get there. We'll build that as the season goes on. Good? All right. Thank you.
Head coach Brian Kelly with a press conference this week as the Tigers get ready to take on the Southern Jaguars coming up on Saturday night at Tiger Stadium. Obviously, tough news for Mason Smith as Coach Kelly confirms he will be done for the season with a torn ACL. Also, highlights from the press conference, pretty clear. Coach Kelly and the staff identifying the issues at hand, and as he said, they're going to get better, and they'll get after it this week in preparation for week number 2, game number 2, coming up Saturday. We'll take a quick timeout. We come back. We'll wrap it up. It's the Brian Kelly press conference presented by ASAP.
Together, we are partners, setting a new standard for health. Together, we prove that no matter how battle-tested we are, our spirit remains undefeated. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are creating transformational change and impacting Louisiana with a new standard for healthcare, research, and education. Together, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are champions for Louisiana. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU.
Hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking for your new Fast Play games, but really, how fast are they?
How fast do you say? Faster than a... Faster than a... Even faster than...
Whoa! Hey, that's fast.
Introducing new Fast Play games from the lottery. Get in between for $1. Rev up with $2 Super 7s. Bet on Black Cherry Bingo. Get the winning score with $5 Saints. And finally, it's a party with $10 Cash Extravaganza. Win up to $50,000. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at murphylawfirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decision. Don't leave money on the table. Visit murphylawfirm.com or call me, attorney Peyton Murphy, at 928-8800. Main office, Baton Rouge.
19-10709. I took control.
I took control. We took control.
This is Chris Medine with Medine's Collision Center. Auto accidents can be overwhelming. Crucial decisions are made instantly, like where to take your car for body repair.
But doesn't my insurance company recommend a collision shop?
It's your right to choose a collision center. Don't let anyone push you around.
Medine's not only repaired my car, but restored my confidence.
Log on to MedineCollision.com and read our latest blog. We are your accident advisors. And remember,
take control. Choose Medine's.
Picture this. You're trying to hire someone or buy something, and you click on their website, but it takes forever to load and looks, well, horrible. So what do? You probably move on. If you're concerned that just described your website, you should call us. We're GatorWorks.
This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP.
Looking forward to an electric atmosphere all over campus, certainly here at Tiger Stadium on Saturday. LSU and Southern get together for the first time ever. Kickoff again set for about 6:39 Central Time. And, of course, we'll have the coverage for you right here on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Coming up on Thursday, a chance to visit with head coach Brian Kelly. Again, he will join us at TJ Ribs for the Brian Kelly Show. We'll certainly talk about what the practice is like today, tomorrow, and headed into week number 2 of the season. And then, of course, on Saturday, we'll get it started at 4:30 with LSU Game Day, presented by 3 Olives, taking place in Tiger One Village. Hope you'll join us there with Hunt Palmer, Marlon Favorite, Brandon Taylor. Then Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush will join me inside legendary Tiger Stadium for the play-by-play action of LSU and Southern again just after 6:30 on Saturday night. Thanks to Gordy Rush. Thanks to you for joining us, and be back here next Monday for the Brian Kelly Press Conference presented by ASAP.
This has been the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today.
A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff.
Welcome back to Hanny Time. Colin Brian Kelly. You know, the thing with the timing was it was a funny little line. Hey, everybody's getting in a little bit late. He started early. Somebody posted in the chat about media's been waiting for LSU coaches for a year. That's not an exaggeration. Okay, that is one of the few press conferences that has started a little bit early. Getting used to things. I know people like to talk about the relationship between the media and the coaches that they cover. You know, the one thing that at least media members that I know would just appreciate. Just start when you say you're going to start. You can start whenever you're going to start is fine. If you're going to start at 5 o'clock, start at 5 o'clock. You start at 5:30, start at 5:30. But what the media hates is when you say you're going to start at 5 o'clock, you're there at 5 o'clock, and the guy wanders up at 5 minutes to 6. Okay, that happened more than once. Okay, under the last two coaches. If you go early though. So why aren't you early? Well, because we don't want to wait around any longer than anyway. So start a few minutes early. It was funny. It's good. Hey, lighthearted. Could use a little lightheartedness today. I'm going to make this statement before I start talking about what he talked about. I'm going to get nowhere with this. I debate whether I should even say it or not. I'm going to go out there and throw it out as kind of a blanket statement and do with it what you will. I'm expecting to have absolutely no success with this statement, but I'm going to do it anyway. Everybody upset after the game. I've been doing post-game for going on a quarter century. I know the emotions run high, and that's just the way it is, okay? I after the game, it's like, wow, okay, did I just really watch that? So emotions run hot. It's fire everybody or anoint everybody. What did he call it? The guy that asked the Sean Payton question, chaos or carnival? Is that what? That's very true after the game. It's fine, okay? It's part of what makes us passionate about this. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's what keeps the post-game show going. I'm fine with it, okay? But after a couple of days, and we've had a couple of days now, it's okay to have two opinions on the same thing, okay? Because in my opinion, the people that take one side of this, and I'm not talking about the trolls that are just doing it just for the hell of it because they get off on that and have nothing else to do. I'm talking about rational fans that look at this. It's okay to say that LSU played a very poor fundamental football game on Sunday night. It's okay to say that a lot of it wasn't coached well, and a lot of it wasn't played well. Kelly just spent the better part of a half hour saying that in very nice language, while also saying that there is hope for the future. So you can be hope for the future guy without justifying what happened in this game, okay? Just because I think this guy's going to be a good coach. I think this is going to be a good staff. I think that this program is going in the right direction while acknowledging there's going to be some rough spots along the way. And Sunday night was as rough as it got. So if you say, hey, listen, I think the guy's a good coach and there's a pretty long track record to back that up. I think they'll get better. I don't know how much better this year. He said a lot of things in this press conference that were code for we don't have good enough players, but I'm not going to tell you we don't have good enough players. When he gets asked about the tight ends and running backs and says, we got to kind of be creative there. That's code for we don't have enough good players there. It's a very nice way of saying it, okay? Because why would you want to come out and say we don't have enough good players at those positions? That just makes everybody feel bad. Thought he was pretty good there. Hey, we got to be creative. That's code for we're not good enough. Said it, a number of times. All right. So it's okay to say they were awful on Sunday night. Degrees of awful, okay? Pick your position. There was plenty to go around. Players, coaches, maybe media too, Hanniger, if your postgame show wasn't good enough, okay? Yes, I'll get better. I mean, I expect to be better in week 7 than I was in week 1. Isn't that kind of the idea? So it's okay to say two things about the same subject. They were very bad the other night, but it is not impossible that they could get better. Where I do, where you lose me a little bit, though, and we ought to all know better, and I'm guilty of it too, is trying to predict long way into the future based on what you saw the other night. We fall into this trap every single year, okay? It's like the fish that goes for the same bait time after time. You get a hook in your mouth, okay? Because they lost this game, they can't win, fill in the blank. I've gotten this 36 times from 3 different friends, colleagues, etc., since the end of the game. They play like that, there's no way they'll beat Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida, fill in the blank. Forget about Alabama, that they don't count. In 2020, and the way I know that we fall into, I'm just going to give you 2 examples. I could give you 100. I'll give you 2. 2020, they lost to Mississippi State. They gave up 700 gazillion yards through the air. I did the post game that day. People were not happy. They will never beat fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. Okay? And then they beat South Carolina, and they beat Arkansas, and they beat Florida and Mississippi State as underdogs. And Ole Miss as underdogs. Okay? Last year, lost to UCLA. World officially ending. And for Ed Ogeron, it was, okay, the end of his coaching tenure. And they still managed to beat Florida and Texas A&M as underdogs. And they also beat Mississippi State in a wild game. So, like I said, I'm going to caution you. You're not going to listen. I'm going to do it anyway. Don't try to predict games in November based on what you saw in September. This team will be different in November. I don't know if they'll be better. I don't know if they'll be worse, but they won't be the same. I mean, no coach goes through a season and gets the exact same performance. Even a team as good as Alabama. Saban and them won, 55-0 the other night or whatever it was. And what we're talking about in the post game, we need to be better in this, this, and this, because they have to be better to beat Georgia and whoever they play in the playoff than they were against Utah State. So you evolve. If you're a good coach, you get better. I don't know if it's for sure going to happen here, but just try. Okay, we do this in the summer. We're in talking season. Well, they'll win that game. You sure? I mean, I was sure Alabama was going to beat Utah State, as certain as I could be. But I don't know what's going to happen in the LSU-Florida game. If you'd have asked me after the Mississippi State game in 2020, was LSU going to beat Florida, I'd have said, absolutely not. But, again, teams evolve. So let's talk about some of the things that he talked about. The conversation with Kayshon Boutte was interesting. He said his standards are high. He says, I'm not the least bit concerned about Kayshon Boutte, which probably makes him the only person in Baton Rouge that's not right now concerned about Kayshon Boutte. And that he needs some guidance. All right, now I'm completely with him on this. I said it last week that these 2 guys need each other. If LSU is going to get better, they need Kayshon Boutte to be better. And if Kayshon Boutte is going to make himself a richer man than what he is, going into this season, then a future richer man, then he needs to play better. And Boutte certainly understands that. If he didn't understand it himself, he's got enough people around him saying, you're going to be a first-round pick next year. And he probably will be. Where in the first round depends greatly on how this season goes. And Sunday night didn't do him any favors. Didn't do LSU any favors, didn't do Boutte any favors. Glad they had the conversation. Hope he's being honest about that, because these 2 guys need each other. If Boutte doesn't play well, it's bad for Boutte and it's bad for LSU. So I'm glad that they had that conversation. Third down, talked about tackling, and then they talked about tackling some more. And then my third note here is tackle. So the tackling is a huge issue in this game. No argument there. There's a question later on about the decrease in the number of contact practices have led to sloppier tackling. As a rule, across football, period, professional and college football. I think that's true. I thought the question was spot on because it's asking, how do you combat that? Now, Georgia tackled fine on Saturday. Hey, Ohio State tackled fine on Saturday. Alabama tackled fine on Saturday. So it is doable. But yes, has tackling overall gone down since you have decreased the number of padded practices and contact in practices? Absolutely. Watch any game, any league, any day. Tackling has gone down. But again, that's to the coach to figure out how you balance not going so hard in practice. And Les had a bad habit of that. He had very, very long physical practices. But you know what? LSU was a very physical football team. Did it cost them their legs sometimes late in the season? Yes. Did it cause some injuries that might not have happened? Yes. But were they physical? Yes. Every time. Talked about early recognition for the quarterbacks, better coaching and better execution. And then, as said, we started on the protections, chipping later in the game to help the offensive line. Should we have sprinted out more? Should we have gapped more? Yes. Frankly, I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't anticipate those problems. They knew that they were going to have an inexperienced offensive line up there. They knew that Florida State had some talent up front, and we talked about those things ad nauseum throughout most of the summer, how they were going to have to help the offensive line. So that's disappointing that it took them into the second half to figure out that they needed to help the offensive line. But I'm glad that they, have it there now. The pressure fronts that Florida State threw at them, he said it took us a while to recognize the protections. Again, yeah, that's a little disappointing. You have film on Florida State from last year. I don't know if what they threw out there on Sunday was completely different from what they threw out there last year, but I didn't see anything that, it's like, wow, never seen this defensive formation before. So is that disappointing? You betcha. Why weren't they prepared for that? That's a legitimate criticism of the coaches, in my opinion. When you hear them say, we weren't prepared for that, that bothers me. Okay, you had all summer. Okay, you should have been better prepared. Doesn't mean that it won't get better. Didn't start fast, got to play for 4 quarters. These are coaching cliches, but they're absolutely mind-blowing in a season opener. I can't imagine a football team that's got to go through 15 practices in the spring, a gauntlet of summer workouts. And if you've ever seen those summer workouts, there ain't anything fun about any of them. I get tired just watching them. And over my career, I've watched maybe 2. Happened to be in the building on the wrong day and saw these guys. It's hot. It's exhausting. It's never ending. You work all the way through the summer, and then you get to August. And if you thought July and June and July were tough, get into August when you've got to do this, and you're working. And you're building all towards the first game. You go through all of that. You expend all that energy. You do all that preparation, and you come out flat. I have no idea how that happens, nor do I know how to fix it. That's coaching psychology. Jayden Daniels talked about it in the postgame. Hey, we thought this game, he used the word pushover. It blew my mind. It's like, wait a minute, hang on. Why on earth would you think that? I know they're not supposed to pay attention to the point spreads, but it's not like you guys were a 4-touchdown favorite, okay? Nobody was expecting that. How you don't come out mega excited? I mean, you spent 9 months preparing for this, and the last 6 intensely preparing for this. New coaching staff, crowd into it, man, okay? I mean, a full house, half and half. Superdome, this iconic building. The last time you were in here, LSU won the national championship. Man, are you not just like jumping out your shoes to play in this game? Nope, they weren't. I don't know how you fix that either. Listen, you play an 11 o'clock game against Utah State in Tiger Stadium in September, which is the 3rd game of the season or the 4th game of the season, and you're a 35-point favorite, and you just finished playing the University of Texas in one of these iconic games 2 weeks ago, and you come out flat, I got you. Crowd's late arriving. They're still finishing up the breakfast burritos and the Bloody Marys in the parking lot. Wander in about 11:45 for the 11 o'clock kickoff, and the band comes out and hits those 4 notes, but it's not really the same. I get that. This game, no, I don't get that at all. I don't get that at all. He talked a little bit about Mason Smith. He's going to be out for the year. This just stinks. I mean, I hate it for the kid. It was a freak injury. He was excited. He jumped up. I mean, it could have happened, anytime. All the players get excited. They jump up and down. You make plays. A physical game. You get hurt anyway. That stinks. I hate it for him. I was encouraged by how Mekhi Wingo played. This does affect their depth a little bit. You may see more of Jacoby and Guillory now in that rotation. They're going to be without Ali Gay. I'm glad he didn't give him a pass on that. It was a dumb play. Straight up, it was a dumb play. Okay, he knows he's an experienced guy. He knows better than that. It was a dumb play. So good for that. I think that's it. The safety position. Got to communicate and coach better at the safety position. I thought Major Burns had a very good game. Not a very good game. I thought Major Burns had a good game. Nobody on the defense had a very good game. Thought Major Burns had a good game. Thought Jay Ward struggled. Again, this is communications back there. They haven't been around each other for other than just these practices. Major Burns was out for most of last year. If I remember right, he missed a good bit of the spring, if not all of the spring, most of the spring. So yeah, they've got a handful of practices. Is that any excuse? No. Everybody's got the same amount of practices. Get it right. But yes, that definitely is an area for concern. Joe Fouché, he said we'll be back this year. Well, that was encouraging. I'll just be real honest with you. The way that LSU has done this the past 4 years, if there have been any suspensions for whatever reason, they have moved them into these non-conference games, the bye games. All right. I don't know if there's any this week, but in the past few years, this goes back to the BYU game when they had 114 guys suspended, and it took the basketball coach coming in here and telling the administration, why are you suspending everybody in the first game? Alabama doesn't do that. Why would you put yourself at a disadvantage in a game that, you're playing a team that can actually beat you? Move them. You're going to suspend guys, move them to other games, and that's what LSU's done ever since. So when he says Fouché is going to be back this year, I assume that means that he's not going to be in the game this week as he wasn't in the game last week. Are there any others? Who can say? But traditionally, since that BYU, deal, they have moved any type of disciplinary things into games like this. They're going to do that this week? Who can say? We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll have some time for your questions in the YouTube chat. We are brought to you by Acura of Baton Rouge. 2023 model year has 2 years of maintenance included. The Integra is back. The 2023 Integra comes with a 6-speed manual transmission or the automatics. The all-new MDX Type S and Type S Advances, turbocharged V6, massaging seats in the Advance, new color combinations and new body styles for the MDX, the TLX, the TLX Type S, the RDX, and the 2023 Integra. Newest, latest, and greatest technology and styling. You're going to treat you like family. You buy your car, buy it from local here at Acura of Baton Rouge. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out NewOrleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like, again and again and again. Mom got me the right care, the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them the right card, the right care.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org.
Presented by Bet Rivers, Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. from Dozy Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Me and Mike Delicano recap the 5-day weekend, opening week of college football. Game time presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, we got some good questions out of the chat, so let me get right to them. Number one was, do you think that working up a sweat caused this team to be in the morning practice caused this team to be slow? Kelly talked about taking them over to the Superdome. They do a little small workout. He called it working up a sweat. They get in the venue and see it before. And apparently this is something he's done in the past. Do I think that caused them to be slow? No, I don't. I think what caused them to be slow is indecision. You've heard it a bunch of times. Kelly used the word confidence, which, again, is code for if you know what you're doing, you tend to do it fast. Confident football players are players that absolutely know their assignments. They know what the guys on the side of them are doing. They are confident in their ability to go. You can go full speed. When you're not confident in your ability, when you're not confident in your assignments, you're a little bit unsure, you tend to play slow. I don't think that 30 minutes or whatever, them going out there and going through the motions had anything to do with their speed. I think the lack of speed out there had to do with a lack of confidence, which comes from, again, not being sure of your assignments, not having a lot of time, as much time as you'd like, with the guys that are playing on the side of you. That's offensive line. That's in the secondary. That's with the linebackers. And of course, the quarterback is new as well. Forgot. I'm not remembering all the names. I'm just kind of writing questions down here. It says, stop scheduling teams playing a game before you. Okay. I've actually got a question about this. This is probably for Scott Woodward or Verge Osbury. I probably should have asked it. First of all, I agree. I'm not saying that LSU lost this game because Florida State played Duquesne, but it certainly didn't help. And this has happened to them now 3 times just in the last 20 years, and twice in the last 2 years. Did LSU lose to UCLA last year because UCLA played Hawaii in the first game? No, but it didn't help. My question is this: why wouldn't LSU look into playing in week 0? And my reasons are several. Number one, if you play in week 0, you get everybody back to campus a week earlier. Okay, you can run your practice out there, and don't give me about the heat. It's just as hot in July as it is in August. You get your team back to campus a week early. So anything that is going on in the summertime, you give them one less week to have something go sideways. They all get back in the cocoon, and everybody starts working. That's a small reason. The next reason is that you are assured of playing a game that is against a team playing their first game. And yeah, ideally it should be one of the bye games, one of the games that you are supposed to win. But everybody's chomping at the bit through August. Everybody gets cabin fever. Everybody's ready for week 0. There's a lot of eyes on you, and you get to kind of release the hounds, if you will, a week early. That's the second reason. The third reason is the one I like the most. You get another bye week in the middle of the SEC. I mean, you got to work things out with wouldn't LSU be better served if they didn't play a non-conference game in November and instead played that game on August the 20, whatever? So if I'm LSU, especially when the conference goes to 9 games, I want to play in week 0. I mean, I don't know if there's a rule in the league. I need to go research this, actually. I don't think that there's a rule in the league that prohibits you from doing that. I want to play week 0. I don't know why way more teams don't want to play in week 0. I'm going to give my team a week off their feet somewhere in the middle of this meat grinder of an SEC schedule. I'm going to get my team back to campus earlier. I'm going to be guaranteed that nobody's playing a game a week in front of me. Man, sign me up for week 0. Don't know if that is something that they're looking at. Probably should ask. I'll get on that. Do I think a 12-team playoff is going to ruin the regular season? Absolutely not. I think going into November with a lot more teams that are eligible for the playoffs makes this a lot more interesting. If anything, I think the 12-team playoff may save the regular season. What I've seen the last 2 years, and COVID was just one more conduit to this, was a lot of players opting out in November. It's happened here, happened to other places. Just say, man, we're not going to go to the playoff. We're out. I mean, LSU had players opt out in certainly in practice, if not in statement, in September of last year. So keeping the players engaged, giving more teams an opportunity to make the playoffs, gives more players a reason to stick around. I caught it on Twitter Saturday night after the Georgia, massacre of Oregon, and Oregon was ranked 11th. And a lot of people were on Twitter saying, well, do we really need to see this game? Yeah, because they're all not going to go like Georgia and Oregon, okay? Georgia, who is the defending national champion and has as much talent as any team in the state of Georgia, not named the Atlanta Falcons, blew out a Pac-12 opponent with a coach that was making his first start. And I picked Oregon in the game. I'm a dummy, okay? I thought Lanning would have institutional knowledge. Georgia would come out a little flat with a championship hangover, and I took the points. I was wrong. But it doesn't mean that every team's going to be Georgia and come out and blow out the 11th ranked team. I know there have been a lot of blowouts in the playoffs, but those have been from the very top teams, okay? So if next year you got a playoff game between Iowa and, Texas A&M. Iowa and Texas A&M, this is, say, 5 versus 12 or, 6 versus 11 in College Station. Is that a good thing for college football? I think it is. I think it keeps them engaged more. I think it makes the possibility of the opt-out a lot less. What did I think of Jayden Daniels' performance in Florida State's prevent? I was shocked that Florida State didn't do a better job of protecting the boundary during that game, what should have been a game-tying drive. You expect a team to be in an umbrella defense, that they are giving you the middle of the field to kill the clock, and that they're protecting the sidelines. Florida State didn't do that. We've talked a lot about Daniels' performance. I thought he played gutsy. I think there's things that he can improve on a lot. Is he indecisive when he drops back in a straight drop back, letting the ball go? Yes, that's why I do less of that. But overall, I thought he did what he could under a lot of duress. How many games until you see Nussmeier? I think the fear with Nussmeier is that if he was under the type of pressure that Daniels was the other night, that one, he will have a harder time escaping it, and two, that he will force balls down the field and turn it over. Is that the case? I don't know. I still think he will play meaningful snaps. At what point, I couldn't tell you. Is Billy Napier the next star? The Napier story is gonna linger for a while. I think the guy's a good coach. I thought he was a good coach a year ago. Do I think he is the next Nick Saban? Who can say? He is a coach that has taken a very good career trajectory, has paid his dues at several – he didn't skip any steps, and now he's put himself at a program where you can win it all. Multiple coaches have. But is he going to do that? I don't know for sure. I mean, he's one ill-advised pass away from losing his opener, albeit against a much better team than the one LSU played against. I like Billy Napier. I didn't think he definitely shouldn't have been the coach here. I didn't think he definitely shouldn't have been the coach here. Quit pushing stuff, Mario. What are you doing? Hunt and Hill is next. This has been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is.